In this video tutorial, we are going to take a brief introduction to REST web services. My name is Nebojša Bačanin-Đakula, PhD, and I'm professor at Singidunum University, Faculty of Informatics and Computing. This video is not for commercial purposes. This video is intended for the students of Singidunum University. Now, let's get started. First question is, what does the REST stand for? The REST stands for Representational State Transfer. The REST was invented by and developed by Roy Fielding, PhD. This guy also invented HTTP protocol. Roy Thomas Fielding is an authority on computer network architecture and also the co-founder of the Apache HTTP server project. Key thing what you should know about the REST is that the REST wants to take the best use of the HTTP protocol. So we have here a browser and here we have something like web server. So this is a typical request response architecture. So browser sends request to the web server finds the resource the browser requested and sends the response back. So what is the format of this request and response? Request and response are both in the format that is defined by the HTTP protocol. When we type URL in the browser, we send GET request to the server. Then the server sends back HTTP response with the HTML. The browser looks into the response, takes the HTML from the response and displays it by rendering it in the browser. For example, if we fill in HTML form with some kind of input data and we click on the button submit, we typically create post request, and HTTP protocol defines header in the request and the request body. And in the HTTP response there is also a response header and the response body. So the REST uses this type of HTTP communication where we have something like this. Okay, here we have a REST that uses exclusively HTTP protocol for communication. So we have here HTTP and here we have HTTP request methods get, put, post, and other methods. And here in the HTTP response we have something called HTTP status codes. Like code that starts with 2, like code that starts with 4, and so on. So this is something what REST uses. So when we are using REST, we indicate what action we are doing by using HTTP request methods. So we have HTTP request method get that indicates that I'm trying to get the details of something. Get me the details of that course, get me the details of that student, and so on. Then we have HTTP post request method that indicates that I'm trying to create something. And also I'm having HTTP put request method that indicates that I'm trying to update something. And at the other side we have HTTP response that will include HTTP status codes like 200, 400, and 4, and so on. So REST uses this structure of HTTP requests and HTTP response. The inventor of HTTP once said, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, we can use HTTP in the web services. And that is where the concept of the RESTful web services comes into place. So, RESTful web services try to define web service with the concepts which are already presented in the HTTP protocol. For example, if we want to create user, it is enough to post request users. Then if we want, for example, to delete a user, we would send request like this: delete /users/1. That means that we want to delete the user with ID 1. Also, for example, if we want to get all users, we send request like get/users. Or if we want to get one user, we send request like get/users/1. The most important abstraction in the REST is a resource. So a resource can be anything we want to expose to the outside world through our application that is a RESTful web service. So REST is everything about a resource and HTTP protocol. For example, when we talk about shared portal application, users and resources, we're talking about what to do can be a resource. List of to-dos is a resource. So when we are developing a RESTful application, we always talk about the resource. And in order to access this resource, we need to assign a URI to the resource. As you all know, URI is Uniform Resource Identifier. For example, on our RESTful Web Services application, we have many resources. And for example, we have something like this: user/n buttoning /practice /1. This is example of an URI. So with this URI, we can access a resource of practice resource 1 that a user buttoning defined for our course. And also, if we want to access all resource practices that user buttoning defined, we would use the URI like this: /user/buttoning /practice. So in this way, we will get all the practices that the user buttoning posted on his web service. A resource in RESTful applications can have different representations, like XML, like HTML, like JSON. So resource can have all these representations, but it is the most important that we assign a URI to each resource. So for each resource we have to assign URI, and that's how other applications can access this resource. So REST does not deal with the representation of the resource. It can be XML, HTML, JSON, and other formats as well. The most important thing is that we define our resource and we perform action over the resource using the actions that are provided with the HTTP protocol, like request methods post, get, delete, put, and others. So we define a resource, we define a URI for that resource, and then we use actions over those resources that are already provided with the implementation of the HTTP protocol. So REST, we have to think in terms of the resource. So when we are developing a RESTful web services, first we have to think about the resources that will be exposed through our application. The second thing we have to deal when we are when we are developing RESTful web services is that we should make the best use of the HTTP protocol. So if we want to perform an action over the resource, we have to use verbs that are already specified in the HTTP specifications, like delete, put, post. And finally, at the end of this video, we'll make a brief summary and key points about the REST we should know. So with REST, we have no restrictions. Over the data format. So we can use HTML, XML, JSON, it doesn't matter. Then, the second key point we should know is that transport is always HTTP. So we always use HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, for the transport. We don't use message queues. Then REST is completely built on top of the HTTP. Then with the REST, there is no standard with the service definition. Which can be a drawback sometimes. For the format, we can use WADL, that stands for the Web Application Definition Language, but it is not so popular. And we can use Swagger, which is more popular. So with REST we have no service definition, let me be more precisely, standard. Like in the case of SOAP, we have web services description language. So in REST we can use Web Application Definition Language or a Swagger. And as I already told you, Swagger is more important. So thanks everybody for watching this video. This was just a brief introduction to the RESTful web services. I wish you all a pleasant and nice day, and